anybody been with Greg in the past hour?
I think I'm going to get started.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening for those of you outside the United States. I'm going to give the development update for this week.
Awesome.
Hi, Greg.
Hey,
we
how's
just
it
had
going?
to get started. Good, thank you.
Yeah, great. No, just go ahead and dive right in. Developer update is the most important thing here.
Fantastic. So my update is I'm working with Jeremy on metrics and performance testing. We have a test bed and scripts that enable us to spin up any number of Docker containers to create a peer-to-peer network and then pump through a variety of rolling contracts and then measure the performance of the Docker containers. I can't measure COM events yet because of the way the metrics are set up. So that's some work that's going to be taken on by the development team. I'll describe that later. We had great progress during node testing this week. We had 18 peers connected, and we were able to validate the fix for the non-determinism bug that we encountered last week and the block synchronization issue that we encountered last week. So really, the node testing is coming along really beautifully. If you want to be a validator, if you're one of the reflective companies, we really need you to start showing up for these Tuesday morning sessions. And the reason for it is we want you to be familiar enough with the node software. We want to get feedback from you on the node software so that you have that level of familiarity well in advance of testnet, right? We have a scant 2 days with the validators one-on-one prior to the testnet launch, but we really don't want to be spending that time bringing everybody up to speed on the software. We want that done now. So please, if you have intentions of being a validator, you're a DApp developer, you're a reflective company, we need you there Tuesday mornings. Kelly has...
Absolutely. Meta, just to this...
Go ahead.
Sorry. So to this point, I sent out an email to Reflective and Pythia and some of the education groups that have been engaging with RChain. That really we should have a representative from every single company on every node testing Tuesday, and more importantly, I know that these companies are going to want solutions support as we get closer and closer to mainnet. And we will be prioritizing those companies and groups that have been engaged in Node Testing Tuesday. So they'll get the CoOp and the solutions group's primary attention.
I think that's reasonable. Yep. So please do come to Node Testing Tuesdays. All right, in with Rolang. So the Rolang team, the stable marriage algorithm for pattern matching is in review. Remainder syntax and maps and sets is in flight. We're also fixing, we want to fix, there's an issue with the CLI and the REPL. When there's an error, RSpace doesn't roll back. So we need a fix from the RSpace team on that. They have an issue on their backlog to address. The PR for cost accounting is approved. And we're working on aggregating the cost for a single deploy with multiple Rolang programs inside it. So we're working on aggregating those so we have a total cost for a given Rolang program. And so we'll continue making progress on cost accounting. We discovered a bug in concurrency during node testing, and we already got that PR cut and fixed and reviewed. And we also discovered spurious equivocations. And so that fix is also in review. And again, this is all coming out of the node testing Tuesdays, which is just, I'm so happy with how well those are going. So again, please do join. And we're starting the work on the challenge protocol for the Genesis block signing. So for those of you that are not familiar, we want to provide the Genesis block to the validator set and have the validators apply their public key or sign the Genesis block. And we will have a threshold of a number of signatures that are required in order for the Genesis block to be approved and the network to launch. And we want to do this because we want to make sure that there are plenty of eyes on the ROC Rev swap accounts. So of course we will be making that information available well in advance of the ROC Rev swap. But we're doing this work now so we can demo during the testnet launch what the Genesis block signing process will look like for mainnet launch. We're doing some work on the registry. So we're doing some design work. Kyle is thinking about what the public name registry looks like. And we've got some details there. This is about making resources work at unforgeable names by registering them. And then we've also talked about implementing a confined method that eliminates URN requests from untrusted code. We're also doing some more work on sharding. The sharding contracts are being authored by Mike Stay. And we discovered a need for a lockout tag out mechanism. If you read the documentation on sharding, our intention is to have this concept of what we call a K of N contract, wherein as you create a shard, your validator set, basically you create a set of validators for that shard that then have this contract where they lock up their rev token in the parent of that shard. And in order to transact or make any changes to that K of N contract with respects to the funds that are locked in there, you need a certain threshold of signatures. That's hence the K of N terminology. However, we discovered that if a validator bonds or unbonds while a transaction is pending, this could present a problem with the K of N logic. Hence the need for a lockout tag out mechanism. Yes, so we discovered that there was a missing requirement there. And this will all be implemented in Rolang. So it's not like it's going to affect anything with consensus. We won't have any lockouts or tag outs with respect to consensus. But this specific contract will need to have basically some kind of a lockout and tag out mechanism implemented to make sure it doesn't hang.
Good.
It's
a good discovery.
It is a good discovery. Yes. We also added sender information to blocks, and we've updated the ghost rule to run off the last finalized block. And we've discovered that we have a fairly deep backlog in consensus between here and testnet and even mainnet when you take into account sharding and all the testing and all the performance work that needs to be done. So we are shunting several members of the Rolang team to go and work on consensus. We've made a lot of good progress on Rolang, and cost accounting is coming along very nicely. And we suspect that we can spin off some resources to go help the consensus team out. So that's taking effect this sprint. Storage node team. So welcome Tomas Vitris joins the node team as an SRE. He'll be working closely with Pavel and Sebastian on the Kademlia refactor. This will give him an opportunity to work on testing the communications changes that Pavel is making, as well as come up to speed with the node and learn how the software is running. We have a lot of production tuning we need to do, and we're excited to have Tomas come and help us with that. We're also implementing some mechanisms to monitor the Bootstrap nodes. We've had some situations where we found that the Bootstrap node isn't accepting new connections, and we really need we need to be able to page an on-call SRE. We also need to be able to put the bootstraps behind a load balancer. And so this is the same thing, right? The load balancer is going to need a liveness indicator from the bootstraps to know that a bootstrap is open to accepting connection requests. So we'll probably need to implement some small call or an endpoint request that a load balancer could use and a monitoring system could use to check for liveness of a node, of a bootstrap node rather. So that's what that's about. Block storage work is complete. So the RSpace work is done. We need to integrate block storage into Casper. Currently, blocks are stored in memory. So we need those blocks to come out of memory and get shunted to disk once they're finalized. And this work does depend on the bonding protocol. So we will need to figure out when a new validator bonds, how many blocks do they get? Do they get all the blocks? Do they get some of the blocks? How do they get the tuple space state? And so we need to put some thought around what the right balance is there. We don't want to be overly simplistic because that will very quickly result in a massive amount of data being required to be downloaded before validation can start, and we don't think that's the right solution. So some thought needs to go into that. The node configuration file feature has been merged. We had a slight hiccup in merging that. We've got another PR that's just going into dev now, and this will require a user guide update. So if you're working off of dev, note that there is a configuration file. I have not yet had a chance to dive into this config file. I need to do so and update the user guide documentation on how to work with the configuration file. So please Wait for updates to the user guide if you're using dev, and just be aware that the config file will result in some changes on how Node runs out of the box. We implemented RSpace support for listening on a channel. So what this means, if I deploy a contract that has a name on it, I can now subscribe to that name for updates. So any transactions that happen against that name, I will receive block data from the blockchain on that name. That's the client API to get more or less like what we call transaction receipts. And the first portion of this feature has been implemented in RSpace. There's work on the Rolang team required to complete this. The storage team is also working on metrics visualization and building the metrics dashboards in Grafana. They will start working with what Jeremy has built so far and enhancing that so that we can do things like measuring COM events, measuring the performance of an individual container or node on a network. Ultimately, we want to get to something that looks like ethstats.net, where you can point the metric system towards a network, and it will show you the network performance based on the nodes pushing data to that metric system, the monitoring system. More changes coming on the Roscala team. They are working on integrating the actor work with the parallelism work. They'll be documenting their work up, and then we will be disbanding the team between now and Mercury so that the team can split off and support both the Rolang team and the node teams to get us through all the production engineering, testing, and end user features that we need for the Mercury release. We will be coming back to the virtual machine after we ship Mercury. Tim Schaubel is going to be joining the interpreter team, where he will be learning a lot about the interpreter, and he'll be taking that knowledge, bringing that back as he integrates the VM into the interpreter for the Venus release. So we're looking forward to having him help on the interpreter. Alex will be working with the node team on the comms side, and he'll be helping doing both performance testing and a lot of the node testing work and node user features. And then Keith is going to be working with Jeremy on SRE and performance engineering and production engineering. Developer.RChain.coop. Please go there to get started working with the RChain software. You can get user guides and documentation and downloads. And then rock holders, please sign up for information about the token swap. This is the official and only place to get information on the token swap, and sign up to receive page updates. Please also register your interest if you want to be a validator. We'll be using this information to talk about the validator prospectus and sale, which I'm sure Greg is going to be talking about later in the update. And also you can get information about Archon 3 and node testing as well. Archon 3, we have a preliminary program. Woohoo! So go check that out on developer.rchain conference. And we've got round 2 of the scholarship application period. It's open through August 6th. So you can also sign up for scholarships to attend Archon 3. And we are going to be supporting buying tickets with Ethereum. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly, who has a demo of that. And this is so exciting. We get to dog food crypto.
Thanks, Meta. I really appreciate the time. Hey, yeah, everyone, we're really excited to offer the opportunity to purchase Archon 3 tickets using Ethereum. This is a known issue that people were looking for opportunities to make crypto purchases, not only for RChain, things like coming to events, but also for membership. And so we've have a work done to create a tool to help support that. So really excited to share it first here with this community. And it's been fun to reach out to people who have specifically requested to purchase tickets in ETH over the past week and say it's coming soon. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Kenny, who is going to help us demo this process as an end user making his Archon 3 ticket purchase in ETH.
All right, thanks, Kelly. So I am going to share my screen here with you guys. You cannot share screen while other participants. Meta, can you hand your or stop sharing? I think I can do that if. Great. Okay. All right. So Archon 3, here we go. Live demo, everybody. So keep that in mind, please. Okay. So what we have here is This looks very similar to our current page, and this is for testing purposes. So everybody will, if this all works, then yep, this will probably be rolled out. Okay, so getting down here, it's got all of our information about the venue and about the conference, and then right down here where you can go to register. So I'm going to do that, and then you've got your different options here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that Aetherium, and I'm going to have got the general admission, or Kelly, should I do a early bird or general?
Do a student ticket, actually, please.
A student ticket. So I'll do one of those. And put in my email address right there, 0.06, make that order. And then what's going to happen here is the screen is going to give me an Ethereum address to which I can deposit that Ether to. So I am going to be using my MetaMask account here to send some crypto, 0.06. Next. Give a little bit more gas so that we can see this happen here a little bit faster.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome. So that should take a little bit of time to get confirmed. We can probably see Etherscan. Yep, that one. .io, and put in the deposit address. See how long it's going to take us to get there. I'm on a public Wi-Fi here, so my internet's a little bit slow. But this should get confirmed within 30 or 40 seconds or something like that. Yeah. So we got like, here's our. Yep. Okay. So I think should be confirmed. Let's give it a refresh. I'm sure the back end here is going to be watching the blockchain and waiting for a confirmation and likely some amount of confirmation before you get an email.
Yeah, we're seeing in testing that it also, depending on the gas, but it's taking anywhere between 30 seconds and 5 minutes, just kind of depending on how Ethereum is functioning. And that truly is a dependency on Ethereum.
Okay, well, I have
that transaction back to Kenny making that order.
Well, so right now, actually, I'm not going to show everybody this, but I got, okay, there it goes. I got an email as well, but I'm not going to open up my email for everybody to see, but that's the promo code. And with that, I can head over to Eventbrite, which is kind of managing everything. And then this promo code will allow me to proceed through the checkout process without any deposit from, or like fiat currencies.
Cool.
So that's the way that works.
All right, thanks.
So yeah, I'll just run through this little process here for everybody can see. I'll just apply the promo code so you can see that it'll take it down to 0, and then we'll be done. If I can get it to.
Yeah, so I'll add some color while we watch things spin, and sometimes we do watch things spin. So we found in testing that sometimes the delays are largely related to the Ethereum network, and it can be anywhere between 30 seconds and 5 minutes, and that's just the nature of dealing with Ethereum right now. And hey, Kenny, put your promo code in.
Oh yeah, so do that first, everybody.
Yeah,
right?
Do that first. The other thing is we're still doing we've been doing some usability testing today. We're going to close that out and make some adjustments. We've really been looking at the user process. We're finding that most of our testers are noobs to making purchases in Ethereum. So making sure that we have some clear guide, instructions and support for people who this may be their first time. And then we're looking to launch this next week for people to make those sales.
There we go. So yeah, you can see here I've got the one student ticket. It applies the discount. So now I've
That's really great. What a nice way to handle the transaction.
Yeah, so we anticipate launching. Oh, first of all, Kenny, thank you. If you can still hear, thank you for doing that demo. That was really fantastic and generous of your time while you're at your conference. We anticipate launching this as a offering for Archon 3 next week, and this would be part of a larger offering going forward that certainly the co-op can enjoy and be a part of, as well as other opportunities to do crypto payment processing using this tool that we're calling NumEffects, and that would be available probably early in 2019. Thanks for the time, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, Meta, are you done with your updates?
I am done with my updates. I can open up for questions if there's any questions.
Yeah. So I have a question. Do we have a more solid date for when we'll be able to measure COM events? I know we've been anxiously awaiting that moment, and want to get the community a sense of when that.
Right. So the metric to measure COM events is implemented. The Grafana dashboard to view the measurement of metrics of COM events is implemented. What I need to be able to do now is point it to a set of nodes, basically a network, and display those COM events across multiple nodes. And I've got 2 developers working on that this week. So I hope to be able to demo something next week internally, to receive a demo, and then I can show it as soon as that's done. So we can measure the COM events on a single node. What we can't do is measure COM events across multiple nodes, if that makes sense. And you want to be able to see the network both where multiple nodes are basically deploying and proposing blocks, and then you've got the replay happening as well, the validation. So we want to see all of that happening together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does. Of course it does. Thank you very much. So, but again, I didn't quite get a sense of the date.
I'm hoping by next week. So I'm hoping by next week. Yep.
Okay, good. So yeah, that's fantastic.
Yep.
Wonderful. Very good. Any other questions from other folks about the work that's going on? I applaud the Rose Scala team for being so flexible and willing to pitch in. And in general, I think this is a characteristic I've seen of the development team just across the board, is that if another team or another individual needs a hand, the members of the team are right there, ready to jump in and help out wherever they can. Yeah,
it's really been terrific seeing this team evolve over time. So
yeah, it's a real team.
Yeah, it's a real team. Absolutely. Yep.
I have a question, Greg. I missed the first few minutes of this call. Maybe it was already said, but I'm just curious how signups are going for the conference and how close to selling out it is, or that sort of thing.
So, I can speak to that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, we met and discussed that yesterday. So as of yesterday, we had 75 registrants, which is quite low for what we would like to see. We're targeting an audience size of close to 500, and then we compared that to previous Archon registrations. And so when we look at the same point in time prior to Archon 2, which took place in April in Boulder, we're actually right on track. We have late engagers. Isn't that fun? It does make for difficult planning, though. So I'm going to speak to 2 levels. One is, if you are interested in coming to Archon 3, if that is your plan and intention, please register. You don't need to wait. We would love to see your numbers. It really does help us with planning and to assure that we can make a stellar conference for everyone who wants to be there. Point 2 is, we did look at those numbers and recognize, it's time to maybe bump up the action related to marketing and engagement with the community to bump up those registrations. So the events team has a number of ideas in place that they're running with. A lot of this relates to leveraging individuals' networks. So if you have a network of people that you think might be interested in coming to this conference, particularly if they're based near the Berlin area, and you are able to get in touch with them, we would love to give them tickets to this event. We would love for people to come to this event. So you can contact me, Kelly@pyrofx.net. You can DM me through Discord. I'm happy to get you set up with a discount code that you can share with your network to help promote this event. Similarly, if you have a marketing idea that you think might not be in play yet, don't hesitate to shout it out. Again, Kelly@pyrofx.net. Happy to hear that information from you. And we are going to work aggressively to get the audience numbers that we would like for this event. We think it's a fantastic event for people to come and be a part of, and especially with the launch of the CoOp in Europe, that this is a really exciting time to be involved. And we hope that those of you who are planning on coming would please go ahead and register and then spread the word with your networks.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and to your point, Kelly, I was on the Berlin CoOp call this morning, and they're already rolling out engagements on the ground at various meetups to make sure that there's an RChain presence in meetups, especially in Berlin, but around Europe, with an extra push. In this time between now and then, and I can't speak to it just now in the public forum, but I will be talking with you and Meta later. Cooked up a promo, an Archon 3 promo last night that I think will drive some people to Archon, and I'll be talking to you about that. But it ties into the work that we have just done with the killer app. I need a new phrase other than killer.
You really do.
Yeah, we do need something different than killer app for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So we're working on that messaging as well. If you have a few minutes after the call, I would
absolutely.
Yeah.
I would like to ask if we can collaborate with folks on the membership management side. If at all possible, we can get information about Archon 3 sent out an email to the CoOp membership base. That would be hugely helpful because I'm not sure how many of the members actually, listen to the live stream regularly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Did you see the email?
Absolutely. I hear you. So I just was Patrick and John West are here with me in our house here. Here you go. This is
Hi, Patrick.
Hey, Patrick.
You're the man I want to talk to. You're the man I want to talk to. So I'm coming up there next week. So if I don't have my email list, I want to come find you physically. I can do more than a show.
I'll be right there next to you.
Okay. Very good. So thanks very much for that update. I'm super excited. I do want to mention. I've mentioned it before, but it bears mentioning again and again and again. We're going to have some pretty first-class music at Archon 3. In particular, the Adrian Ballou Power Trio and Echo Test are going to be playing at Archon 3 for the entertainment on the evening of the 5th. So in addition to launching some pretty groundbreaking technology across the board and making some very significant organizational announcements, also we'll have work from some of the best researchers on the planet being presented. So in addition to that, we're going to have some world-class entertainment. So help us spread the word. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so moving on, I would love to hear from Reflective first, especially because they just did a really fantastic event on Friday, the deal day, but I don't want to steal their thunder. So who's on the call from Reflective who wants to take this?
You've got Greg here.
Hey, guys.
How you guys doing? Well, first of all, I wanted to jump on, Greg, what you were speaking about earlier, and that's for the portfolio companies. All of ours, we're going to be reaching out to them. For you, Greg, you mentioned when I talked to you yesterday, wanted to be on a phone call with them as far as the node side and the onboarding. So Rebecca and or you, Greg, you don't know this yet, but it's going to be a note coming out from you to all those companies. We're going to try to get that set up for next week. So That's going to be happening. So any of the portfolio companies that are listening here, be ready for that. A few updates from our team. Half of us were over in Asia for the last 10 days. Very positive. And met with a bunch of investor groups, validator groups. They attended the Blockchain Week in Seoul. They had 3 conferences in Beijing. They did 2 conferences in Hong Kong. They met with a lot of RChain investors. One of the things that came back from those investors, while very positive, is their desire for more information on what's happening at RChain. So I'm working with Patrick and the team over there to make sure that the messaging is getting across, because that is something that's very important and was very evident for that team that was over in Asia. So while they're building out the community, they're thirsty and hungry for more info. And Greg, we talked a little bit about that yesterday as well, with your potential trip over there. So that'll be good to have that. Speaking of deal day from last Friday, a lot of you were in attendance, so really appreciate that. I think the numbers that we got, there was, at one point there was over 140 people here. I didn't even know we could hold that many people in the office, so it was great to see. The 6 companies that came, 4 were from Seattle, I believe 1 Detroit, 1 Chicago. The winner of the 50,000 Rock was Rumble Monkey. So they're a platform with a set of tools that enables real money play for competitive video games and esports. We all really liked that offer. I think it was pretty unanimous for them in winning that. The panelists that we had, very diverse group. So Greg, thanks again for being there. Deanna was there representing RChain. We had Kevin from Reflective. We had a gentleman from Consensus that heads up the Seattle office for Consensus was here, New Alchemy, and then Alex came on from Life ID. So the judges did a great job. It was tough. I know it had to be for them to pick that winner out of the 6 companies that were there. It was streamed live. So Christian, thank you for doing that. You did a great job with all of that. The 2 highlights really for me out of the event, one was the blockchain student groups that we had from the different universities. So we had MIT flew out, Harvard was here, the Berkeley guys were up here as well, and then we had the University of Washington. So all 4 of those universities, as prestigious as it can get, with those student-run blockchain groups. It was very impressive to see them there. I know they got to spend some time with Greg as well, and they're all forming together to go out to the other universities across the country. So very strong with that. And then secondarily was, and could even be first, was the community and the connecting. I think it sort of proves the point of what we're doing with the RChain and the Reflective offices that we have here, and to see how many people were coming together and the different connections that were being made, not just from our portfolio companies, but from all across the community and, for that matter, the country, and setting deals up and doing that. We got nothing but positive results. It was a huge success. It was a lot of work, and there was a lot of people that were behind that. So thank you to everybody that attended. We'll certainly be doing more. We just need to catch our breath now and figure out when the next one's going to be. David and I had some great meetings yesterday with 2 Washington State senators. They are on the tech side. They're very, very active in the tech side on the environment of what we're sort of working in on blockchain, specifically on the legislative side of things. So we not only educated, but we're informed by what they're doing and for our overall mission. So there's going to be a lot more work done there. We're going to get them into our offices, perhaps at the next RChain meeting, so they can talk specifically to the RChain group to sort of say what our state is doing about the push on the blockchain ecosystem. So that was great. And last but not least, the Validator program that's going on right now. So Reflective is leading those efforts, tightly coordinated with RChain and with Pyrofex. We had a great first kickoff meeting yesterday. So we'll be taking a role in that. There will be more information coming in the next few days and weeks on that. I don't think I missed anything, guys. Anything else? So any questions from anybody on that?
Not so much a question, but first of all, I really want to congratulate you on the deal day. It was a fantastic event, and one of the things that really stood out for me is it's a fantastic educational opportunity. It's a way for the co-op membership and the larger community to become aware of the work that other people are doing. And I think this is going to be more and more important as we scale out. It's going to be difficult to find who's doing what, and Deal Day helps provide one of the channels, one of the mechanisms for people to find out about exciting and interesting work that's going on in the blockchain space, in the RChain space, and at the entrepreneurial edge. So I'm very, very excited about that. The other thing I wanted to say was I was very impressed with the level of coordination and cooperation happening around the validator sale. I feel very confident about that. Now we'll talk a little bit more about that after we have updates from Pythia. But yeah, let me leave it open for other questions from the community before we move on.
Everybody typed in. Good.
Okay. Unless there are any other questions from the community about that update, we'll turn it over to Pythia.
Thanks, Greg. And congratulations to the Reflective team on that great deal day. Sounded like it was an amazing event. We are all literally running out the door right now to do our first link up with one of the large angel networks. We're going to announce that shortly as to how that went. In terms of validators, we are bringing more on board. I've got the information, so we're bringing probably 5 very large validators in, including, and I'm waiting to get confirmation, one of the local large cloud providers here in Washington. So look for that. Very excited to bring everybody up to speed on that. Wrapping up due diligence, as we mentioned, on a couple of different companies. And we'll be bringing online probably 2 different university groups that we're trying to stitch together here in the Northwest, and then probably bringing in some from Canada as well. So very brief update again, but a lot of activity, and we'll have more next week. Thanks.
Great. Thank you for the update. Any questions about the Pythia update from the community?
Lawrence, how many deals has Pythia signed? I'm only aware of Life ID. Are there more?
There's 3 deals that we've signed.
Thanks.
And we'll be able to give more updates on those.
Are they on your website? Because I haven't seen them.
They should be on the web. I think they are on the website. I'll make sure that they are. Life ID, thanks. Trusted Key, and Digital Town.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. Very good. So thanks for that. So now I'd like to turn attention, as Meta said, to the validator sale. I'm happy to announce that that the interest in validation is overwhelming. We were going to only run 1 validator focus group. There was so much engagement that we had to split that into 2, and each one of those sessions had more than 20 people involved, most of whom have either expressed interest or are going to validate the network. So this is very, very encouraging. We've had about 77 names come in through the validation form on the web page. Reflective is helping to shape the funnel. So they've done a lot of early work on engaging with validators and getting them into a pipeline that all the parties who've been engaged in this process have agreed to, so that there's a single record of reference that's under the co-op's control. So we have security on identity information associated with that. As a result of the focus groups, the validator prospectus document is now under revision. That revision will be completed by the end of the week, and next week the validator sale goes live. So that means that we can be in full force by September to get people on. I have the sneaking suspicion that the slated 80 million rock might not even be available anymore by September, given the level of engagement. I also want to say that the group that we're working with to do the featured demo at Archon 3, they have very, very high-powered connections, and we will be. They've actually lined up one of their staff writers to help craft an executive summary to the prospectus. So what's going out as a part of the sale to anyone that's interested will be a description, and this is the document that we worked from in the focus group, a description of essentially what the opportunity is. And then there will also be the contractual language that's associated, because anyone who's engaged is expected to be a validator, to stake the network, and to either come up with a hardware provisioning plan and maintenance plan, or to work with an approved partner such as Pyrofex, who will be providing the technical details of their commitment. So the contractual language around that will also go in the package, and then our new partner is helping us craft an executive summary that they feel would be most effective, at least for their investor network. And not to tip my hand too much, but the first translation for that, it will be into Mandarin. It will be translated into several languages, but the first one will be into Mandarin Chinese. So that's quite a mouthful. We're already at 11:43, and I have a whole bunch of other updates to get through. So let me open it up to questions on the validator sale.
What's the price of the sale?
The price of the sale? I'm sorry. You're asking about the price for the rocks? Okay, yes. Great. All right, so that will be available when we send out the packet next week. John West is poking me in the ribs about the price. But anyway, we'll make the price available next week when the sale goes live.
Greg, this is Jonathan.
Yeah.
I want to caution us against using the word prospectus.
Okay. I understand. Any such caution should come along with a viable alternative.
Validator onboarding information. Validator.
Yeah, that's not really what it is. I understand what you're talking about. People need to understand what their obligations are and what their expected what they can expect from their engagement in the network. So yeah, let's put our heads together and come up with alternative language if we're not going to use prospectus. Okay, so let's see. Any other questions from the community on this point? Going once. Going twice. All right. So moving right along. I would like now to mention that Michael Ovadia, who was on the call a few weeks ago, has decided to engage with us at least for a couple of months to help the co-op flourish as a co-op. He's got a significant what's the word, CV, and a lot of experience in working with communities and sort of helping to humanize those communities. So we'll be sending out a note about how he'll be involved. He'll be involved in the H3 Uni process, which kicks off next week. And I would love for people to engage with Michael and help him help us make the community a vibrant place to work in and cooperate. And let's see, are there any updates about the H3 Uni process, Patrick? Do you have anything? Have you been on the calls?
No, we did that preliminary exercise, which was interesting, the 3 horizons.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a really interesting exercise because it tied us to the existing concerns that we have for the RChain ecosystem as it exists today, and then our aspirational goals of what we see like the RChain ecosystem becoming. And then in the middle, we've brainstormed different tactics and strategies on how to combine the two. So that was an interesting way of looking at the problems and kind of using a word that you use a lot, like future proofing, looking ahead to see like how can we address these issues.
Planning for success.
Yeah, planning for success. Yeah, especially before they become urban. Yeah.
That's right. No, that's great. That's great. I mean, I think that section of the protocol that they designed was to surface 6 sort of high level issues or topics that we'll talk through as a part of this process, and I'm glad that we'll have Michael Avadia in the mix to use that as fuel for the work that he's going to do.
Right. Yeah. And each group came up with 6, so it'll actually be like a tree of, I think, in the 20s to 30s of different tactics that we'll explore. And then I think the outcome of the actual workshops, or one of the outcomes that I'm looking for, is a way in which we'll prioritize those ideal outcomes that we want and the strategies that move towards those. For example, like membership coordination and communication is a big one.
Good. Validator tear sheet, is that the so I was just noticing there's something in the chat here, so didn't mean to jump topics, but did you say tear sheet or term sheet? I hope validators are not shedding tears. Okay, great. So that's that. I also want to say that the not only has the CoOp board approved the deal with our partner, but that we've gone ahead and executed against the agreement. And things are moving at a very rapid pace. So we have on the CoOp side and the development side, we've got draft smart contracts for our demo at Archon 3, as well as some Oracle code, a little proxy that stands between our partners' code and the blockchain. And they are rapidly moving to get their side of the code up and running. It was an all hands on deck effort for them to get ready for September, because we just began our conversations about 2 weeks ago, and everything is coming together quite well. We're meeting this week. I have already met with their staff writer to be able to craft a message so I can be a little less mysterious about this and a little bit more open. Again, what I can say is that the demo will involve audio data on the chain, and audio data unlike anything you've ever heard before. So if you are a fan of music or other kinds of audio content, this is going to blow you away. I can say with full confidence, this is going to blow you away. So all of that is moving along, and I just want to set the framework here as to why this is important. And this came up a lot in the validator focus group conversations. So if we look at it carefully, in order for this in order for the RChain effort to succeed, the economic proposition really depends on there being a high transaction volume. That's what makes or breaks this proposition. And if we think about it, in my opinion, I think probably the opinion of most people here on the call, it's not sufficient merely to say that we'll have 3 orders of magnitude throughput. That's not a sufficient argument. You can be more performant and still fail to attract the kind of transaction volume for all kinds of reasons. So the next argument or the next way to attract transaction volume is to make sure that the transaction fees are also more attractive. So if you look at the validator term sheet that we were calling a prospectus, the aim is we go out the door with transaction fees that are about 1/3 of the Ethereum transaction fees, driving as soon as possible towards 1/10 of Ethereum transaction fees. So now you have 2 kinds of economic arguments for why dApp developers would be incentivized to deploy their apps across the RChain network. But we can't rest on those. Again, though it's quite possible to have those and still not attract the kind of volume. And that's where the good efforts of Reflective and Pythia come in. Between the 2 of them, we have 25, 26 companies already signed to build on top of RChain. And so those dApps are going to be driving the transaction volume. And we feel very confident, given that we're already at about 25 or 26 companies, that by mainnet will be over 30 companies signed building on top of RChain. Now, not every one of those are going to launch in the first quarter, but many of them will. And then on top of that, we still can't rest on our laurels. We have to have an eye-popping application, an application that everyone is talking about. You know, I've been jokingly calling it the killer app, but this is really, really what this is. So we also magically stumbled into an application that's going to have broad appeal across a very, very wide spectrum, which in and of itself will drive millions of transactions to the platform. So that's the argument here, and that's why we've organized our effort the way we've organized it. And I would love for people to help get this story out as much as possible. That it's a 4-pronged approach, right? Throughput, lower fees, a rich and vibrant ecosystem, and applications that we know through their popularity alone and their reach alone will drive the kind of transaction volumes. So that's our approach. And
when will
go ahead.
When will we be able to talk specifically about the killer apps?
Hopefully by the middle of next week.
Nice.
Is the killer dApp a household name?
So that's a great question. So first of all, the group that has developed the audio portion of this has been doing this in stealth mode. The parties that are involved in that group are all extremely well-known, high-profile audio engineers with long track records, but they're not going to be recognized by the average household.
Well known to those who know them.
Well known to those who know them. That's exactly right. So we get no name recognition out of that. However, the first time you have an experience of this, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. The first time you actually experience what we're talking about, and this is we took half the board out last week last Tuesday, and to a person, they were like, "Wow, this is very different." So name recognition is really not what's going to drive this. It's really going to be the experience, which is why we're going to make it so that the experience is available globally post testnet. So the demo is not going to be restricted to those people in Berlin, but will be available to anyone globally after September. So people can get an experience of what this is like. So hopefully that answers your question, Alan.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Greg, I have a little bit of something to say about the name recognition thing, and something we did just this morning. Steve Bazaya and I talked to the dealer in Austin, one of La Marzocco's dealers, and got him all set up on his wallet and making sure he knows what he's doing as much as anyone can. And we are trying to find a blockchain conference in Texas, which turns out there's a big one happening in October, where he can take an espresso machine. We're going to see if we can have RChain be part of that exhibit.
This is awesome,
because it will be one of the first one of the first exposures of that the progress we're making on that. Plus, Kent Baki's coming over to our house with me on Friday, so if you're going to be around, he just wanted to see it. So we've got this going, and it's actually our idea to go after companies that have end users that we can actually get in with and then make their networks work back to the main office. So that's kind of how we're working La Marzocco. We're working both sides, both the main offices and the distributors. So
awesome. Well, Rudy, I'm very excited. I know that you're working very hard to put together our Coffee Clatches marketing effort. It would be, please let us know when the first one is, because we're
probably September, October, or by October. But I need to. Sorry, I need to hook up with Patrick on that one.
Okay, all right. Well, please let's drive it as fast as we can.
Okay.
Okay, good. So just a couple of other points that, building off of what Mike said, well known to those who know them. I'm delighted to say that I had a lovely conversation with Nobuko Yoshida. So this is not a household name unless you happen to be someone in concurrency theory or type theory or theoretical computer science in general. I think I can say in advance of us actually executing that we will be joining her in partnership at RChain Research. She is one of the luminaries in computer science. Her work on the combinators for the pi calculus, her work on type systems for the pi calculus, her work on session types, all of that is just phenomenal. She teaches not only at Imperial College but also at a number of Southeast Asian universities that are of similar profile, and has many students who are in the process calculus space, which is exciting to us because we want to attract those kinds of people to come work on RChain and to help tell the RChain story. And in fact, one of the things that Nobuko and I spoke about was the possibility of together crafting a video that would appeal to her students. So I'm very happy about that. We have some other exciting research talks that will be at the RChain at Archon 3. So there's a research track there, and again, the names of the people who are going to be talking, not household names, but very well known to the people who know them. So I'm delighted, and I think we're right at the top of the hour, and I have a whole host of follow-on meetings. So I'll give people a chance to ask any sort of burning questions, and then I have to.
Greg, I have a burning announcement. HJ went through his surgery. He spoke this morning. He was cogent at the end of the RAM meeting, and that's very, very, very nice.
Oh, thank God. Yes, I spoke with him on Thursday night, and it was really great to be able to speak with him, and I'm really glad to hear that. Alan, do you happen to know HJ, a physical address or the hospital room or something? I think it would be wonderful to send some flowers from the RChain community.
Okay, I can get that done. I will definitely get that out.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, and good wishes for a speedy recovery to HJ from the entire RChain community. Okay, I gotta jump off. Thanks to all, and I'm looking forward to our next call. Things are moving fast. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.